What's up, Xavier Architects? I got a couple of things I wanted to show you guys that I just sort of got going on, and I want to show you how to do them. Mike Bruno actually had created a cool little skyscraper design where he's got sort of a square within another square. So he's got the footprint at the base of his skyscraper, and then he's got this sort of rotated other shape in the middle, right? And we're going to lift this up to, let's say, I don't know, maybe right about there. And we were trying to get a situation where we could, connect these two things, okay, but have a curved line that came down and sort of exponentially went from the outside edge here up to the outside edge here. And one way of trying to do that would be to just use the loft command, right? We could select the curves to loft, and you always have to do them in order, here and then here. And then press enter when done. And it asks, is that kind of the path that you're looking for? And yes, we say enter. And okay, so we get, a little bit, this usually says normal here. See a little bit of a little bit of a curve there, but not much of it, that kind of goes straight up to that. So that's not exactly what we're looking for. We're looking more of a curve or an exponential sort of curve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this shape and I'm going to copy it. So I'll do sort of an alt copy and drag that down. And what I want to do is I want to go sort of almost more than halfway down to the ground from where this one is. We'll call that maybe something like that, okay? And what I want to do is, and I can even make this one just a touch bigger, maybe just a little bit bigger there, and a little bit bigger here. But you could leave it the same size and still be fine, okay? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that same loft command and select curves to loft, bang, bang, and bang, and say enter. And it's saying, okay, I'm going to go to this one, then this one, then this one. Is that what you want? And that is what I want. Enter. And you see now I've got more of that curvy kind of line that comes up into the structure. And I want this to be tight. And I'm going to say okay. And then I've got basically the shape that I think we were looking for, and then I'm going to add a cap, okay, to solid that up, and we're in business. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Another thing you might want to try is, let's just get rid of the surface here and leave our curves are back. And another thing you could try is to highlight these and go to rebuild. And this point count, you can make it, 40 or something like that. And it basically puts points all the way around. And what that does is it makes sort of more of a smooth, you can see this kind of smoothing out the ends here. So it's not quite so angular if that's what you're going for. Or you can go for maybe a higher number, more points to get the curve back or to get the straight edges back. But I'll show you what this ends up looking like. And we say, okay, loft this. Now we want to loft this after the rebuild command. We're going to go to loft. And here are my three curves, 1, 2, 3. And then I hit enter. Yes, that's what I want. And then you go tight. And you'll see there that we get like sort of a more, it's kind of cool, it's like more, almost like a sheet, So you can play around with that. So that's the rebuild command along with loft, or you could just do the loft. This looks like it's kind of curving in a bit or deforming a bit. So you might not want that happening. So you just try the regular loft or try that rebuild, add a bunch of points, and do the loft then. That's another option. I'm just going to undo back to the main curves here. Okay? So there's a couple of different ways to do it. So enjoy. The other thing that I wanted to show you is this other command, which is in our properties panel, we can see that this is what's called a clipping plane. So let me just erase that and show you how it works. So I'm going to kind of get up above my skyscraper to sort of perspective mode here, and I'm going to type in clipping plane, and I'm just going to say the first corner of the rectangle is going to go here, and then over here, and what that does is it creates this, sort of plane that's going to hide anything. And as I move it up, look at that, it just reveals the layers. So I can it's kind of like hiding, but if I wanted to work on one layer at a time or something like that, yeah, it's kind of cool. And I can move this with the gumball. I can even rotate it. So if I want to just reveal half the tower, like something like that. That's kind of cool, huh? Look at that. Just come in and or hide it all. And if you want to get rid of that or turn it off, you go into the properties. So we're usually in layers. You can go to properties, and clipping plane is this little icon here, and then you turn it off and on with this, or you could just delete it if you don't want to use it anymore. But this might be a good way of, if you're having trouble where you're working on a large project and it's starting to slow down, the rendering and things like that are starting to slow down, and you can't quite get it to respond the way you want to, just use a clipping plane to get rid of all the things that you don't want to be showing right now, so that the file will allow you to work on the things that you do want to work on. So that's called a clipping plane. One final thing I was having trouble with was, like, sometimes you want to zoom in and you just can't get quite close enough to, like, okay, let's say I want to work on this seam right here, or this junction between the wall and this little elevator shaft here. Oh, of course it works now. I can get real close. But a lot of times, like, you try to zoom in on something and it goes like that, right? You can't actually see it. So one way to fix that is to click on what you want, choose the thing that you want, and then zoom selected. And once you zoom selected, now I just used the center mouse, but you could also type in ZS for zoom selected. Now I can zoom in a little tighter to that area, and it lets me get in closer than I would be able to normally. So that's zoom selected, ZS, and then the center mouse button to sort of scroll wheel in and out. Okay? So I hope those tricks are helpful. Feel free to add them to your bag of tricks.